My name is Ella Harper. I'm 32 years old, working as an associate therapist at a counseling clinic in New York. I've been in 17 relationships. The longest lasted 2 years, the shortest only 2 weeks. Every breakup came with a different reason. Clashing personalities, long distance, conflicting values, partners being too clingy, partners being too distant, even one guy who drowned his sushi in soy sauce. 17 exes, 17 versions of we weren't right for each other, but it wasn't until 3 months ago that I began to suspect the problem might be me. 3 months ago, my 17th boyfriend, Matt, a coder with a wonderful smile, said something when we broke up.
Isla, you're always there to mend everyone else's troubles, yet you never say we're still being mended.
I couldn't sleep that night. At 3 in the morning, I pulled up my phone contacts and scrolled from top to bottom, 17 names. Then a ridiculous thought popped into my head. What would happen if I added all of them to a group chat? Would they complain about me to one another? Would they gang up on me? Or would they comfort each other instead? I created a group chat and named it The League of the Dumped. My hands trembled when I added the first person. My palms were sweating by the 5th. By the 13th, I started laughing. The whole thing was utterly absurd. Eventually, all 17 were in the group. I typed a single line in the group announcement.
Hello everyone, I am your shared ex. After much thought, I've made up my mind to do one thing to help you find someone who's better for you than I ever was. Because you're worth it.
The group stayed silent for 40 full minutes. Then the first reply came. It was my first boyfriend, my high school first love, Nick. He sent a message.
Isla, so you finally admit you dumped 17 people?
I need an explanation.
I need a hug.
I need a drink.
I sat in my dark apartment, clutching my phone, watching avatars light up one after another on the screen. 17 people I had loved, or tried to love, were talking about me inside the same chat window. This wasn't a trial. It was an unexpected reunion. The first 3 days after the group was created were as chaotic as an open-air market. Some were furious, some confused, some cracked jokes, and one person sent a 40-second voice note while crying. Nick, my first love, who now works as a high school teacher, turned out to be the calmest one in the group. On the 3rd day, he posted a long message.
Everyone, we've all been dumped by the same person. But if you think about it, we were also chosen by the same person. She believed each of us was worth starting with. That means there's something we share.
After that message was sent, the mood in the group shifted. What had begun as a grievance session turned into a sharing circle. Some posted travel photos taken after our breakup, some shared new recipes they'd learned, and one showed off a newly adopted cat. The cat's name was Ella Mark. My 14th ex owned her. He wrote in the group,
I named her Ella because every morning she wakes me up and then runs away. Exactly the same.
I stared at that message and smiled for a long time. Then, I typed a reply.
So how's it doing now?
Great. He sleeps on my lap now. He's learned to stay.
In that moment, I realized this group might actually mean something. Not for me, but for them. To let them understand that being rejected by the same person does not equal being rejected by the whole world. The first in-person gathering arrived. I booked a private room at a quiet bar in Greenwich Village. As I waited by the door, my palms grew sweaty with nerves. What would it look like, having all 17 people in the same space at once? But they showed up. Nick was the first, wearing a flannel shirt, broader than he'd been in high school. Next came Mark, carrying the cat, named Ella. Then my 5th ex, Luca, an Italian who now runs a pizzeria, and he brought a whole pizza with him. My 10th ex, Ling Zhao, an architect these days, turned up with a bottle of whiskey. Once 11 people had arrived, the atmosphere began to warm up, and they started introducing themselves to one another. My 17th ex, Matt, was late. When he pushed the door open, every eye turned toward him. He paused in the doorway, and then he said,
I was the last one, but I swear I didn't cry.
We've all shed tears. Just take a seat.
That night, they talked a lot about me, the good and the bad alike. One said I possessed sharp insight, yet feared intimacy. Another remarked that I could utter the gentlest cruelty when ending a relationship. Someone else shared, she showed me what it feels like to be taken seriously. I sat in the corner, listening to them talk about me in the past tense. It was an odd experience, like attending my own farewell ceremony, but bidding goodbye to the version of me that had hurt them. When the night came to an end, Nick clapped me on the shoulder.
Isla, you didn't build this group to help them. You did it to help yourself. You're trying to forgive yourself through their forgiveness.
You see right through me.
I was with you for 2 years. Seeing through you is my instinct.
The group began to take on a life of its own. They stopped talking about me and started connecting with one another. Nick shared the story of his failed second relationship in the chat. Mark replied, I get it. Lucas sent out a discount code for his pizzeria with the note, 30% off for the dumped. Lin Zhao launched a weekly recommendation thread every week. One person would suggest a comforting book or film. I sat in front of my computer, and my fingers froze the moment I read those words. An unfinished work, that was it. What I had always loved was the process, the illusion that things could get better. The second they drew near completeness, I walked away. That night, I added a line to the group announcement. I am also a work in progress. My 8th ex-girlfriend, Emily, a theater director, proposed an activity in the group. Each of us would write a farewell letter to an ex and read it aloud in person, not to one another, to me. Everyone would write a letter and read it to my face. I sat in the living room of my apartment while the 17 of them occupied the sofa, the floor, and the windowsill. The atmosphere was quieter than it had been at the bar gathering. Emily stood up first, unfolded her letter, and began to read.
Dear Isla, you're the best at leaving that I've ever met. You taught me that leaving can be gentle. So I've decided to stop waiting with you for you to come back. I'm starting late for myself instead.
When she finished reading, she folded the letter neatly and placed it into my hand. One after another, they rose to their feet, the second, the third, the fourth. Each read for 3 to 5 minutes. Some wept as they spoke their letters. Some smiled. One person wrote, "Thank you for breaking my heart. I'm doing far better now." Matt, my 17th ex, was the last to stand. He held only a slip of paper with a single line written on it.
Ella, if you ask me right now whether I'd be willing to start over, I would say yes. But I know you won't ask. So I say goodbye.
Tears welled up in my eyes as he placed the slip of paper in my palm. It was the first time I'd let my guard down and cried in front of them. Nick handed me a tissue. I wiped away my tears and took the tissue. Scrawled across it in marker were the words, League of the Dumped President for Life. The group got a new name. The League of the Dumped became Harper Academy. They said, "We aren't the dumped anymore. We're alumni." I changed the group icon to the photo of that tissue printed with President for Life. They started organizing events more often. Online sharing sessions every Thursday night. In-person gatherings on the first Saturday of each month. Nick hosts, Jarlin handles the finances, and Luca supplies the pizza. Emily wrote and directed a small play called 17 Ways to Break Up, which ran for a week at the community theater. I went to watch it, sitting in the last row, watching the character, Ella, portrayed in turn by 17 actors. Each one played a different version of me, the gentle one, the resolute one, the silent one, the one who vanished without warning. At the curtain call, the actress playing me bowed toward where I sat. I stood up and applauded. Out of everyone in the audience, only I knew the person on stage was learning what it means to be understood. Number 3. Sam, the architect, announced in the group that he's seeing someone. It's his new colleague at the architecture firm.
She doesn't know I've been dumped before, but I want to tell her. She deserves to know my whole story, including the part where Ella broke up with me.
A flood of congratulations filled the group chat. Emily asked, "How are you going to tell her?" Sam replied, "I'll just say, I once got dumped by someone wonderful. Then I joined a support group. It helped me heal." I stared at that message, and a thought slowly dawned on me. When I created this group, I only wanted them to heal. I never imagined healing would mean being ready to love someone new. Sam told his new girlfriend everything later on. He brought her to one of our in-person gatherings and introduced her to everyone. She said, "This group of yours is the strangest community I've ever known, but it's also the one I admire most." I sat in the corner, watching Sam hold his new girlfriend's hand. His smile was different from the one he'd worn when he was with me back then. It was cautious. Now, it was whole. Number 4. Dylan. The musician shared a new song in the group. Its title was Thanks, Ella. The lyrics went something like this. When you let go of me, I learned how to hold tight. When you left, I finally saw the room around me. When you walked away, I found myself. All 17 people in the group fell silent for 3 full minutes after listening. Then Nick sent a message. Dylan, you've put all of our hearts into this song. Dylan replied, because Ella is our shared coordinate, not the finish line, the starting point. The song was uploaded to music streaming platforms. Half a year later, it hit 1 million plays. In the comments section, someone wrote, "This is the best song ever written about an ex." Others kept asking, "Who's Ella?" In an interview, Dylan said,
Ella is our president. She dumped us and then taught us how to get back on our feet.
I listened to that interview in my counseling office and set my phone down on the desk.
Dr. Ella, what's wrong? Nothing.
I heard a song. Made me think of some things. Sometimes leaving someone is the best gift you can give them.
I began facilitating therapy within Harper Academy myself, not as an ex, but as a therapist. I hosted short mini-sessions on emotional healing during our in-person gatherings, 15 minutes each time. I talked about attachment theory, communication skills, and self-worth. I taught them how to spot recurring relationship patterns and how to tell love apart from dependency. Number 9. Jack, an ER nurse, messaged me privately after one session. Ella, all these things you teach, have you ever put them into practice yourself? I sat staring at my phone for a long while before typing a reply. No, everything I teach you, I've never found the courage to live by. He sent back one line. Do you have that courage now? I closed the chat window. He was the first person to see the vast divide between who I was as a therapist and who I was in real life. And yet, he did not push me for more. That divide kept widening inside me. Every new client I met in my counseling office reminded me of someone from the group. Their pain was so alike, longing for connection, terrified of loss. I offered them advice, frameworks, tools. They used them, healed, and moved on. Left alone in the quiet counseling room, it suddenly dawned on me I was repeating the same pattern, helping others build bonds while keeping myself safely at arm's length. That night, I posted a message in the group. I need to ask all of you something. Why do you think I've never been able to stay in a stable relationship? Replies flooded the group right away. Nick said,
Because you learned too early that you can survive all alone.
Zahaolin said,
You leave first, before anyone gets the chance to leave you.
Mark said,
You're afraid of being let down.
Emily said,
You watched your mother go through 13 divorces.
I stared at that last message from Emily. She had met my mother. She knew the whole story. My mother had 13 marriages end in divorce. Every single time afterward, she would say, "This time I found the right person." She never did. So I decided to stop searching. I chose leaving because it felt safer than hoping. You're all right, I replied. I can heal others, but I cannot heal myself. Nick sent a voice note, only 5 seconds long. He said,
Then we'll deal with you.
Harper Academy decided to carry out reverse therapy on me. They would take turns acting as my therapist. Each of them scheduled a session, approaching my healing in their own distinct ways. Nick went first. He sat across from me, just like we had when we first met back in high school.
Ella, do you remember what you said when you first broke up with me?
I said, you deserve better.
That was the most honest thing you ever said to me. But it was also the most selfish. Because when you said you deserve better, it meant you didn't want to be that better. You excluded yourself. I don't want to cure you, but I wanted to tell you you deserve to be better. Not to others, but to yourself.
It was the first time I had been healed by my own patients, my former partners. Jolene's plan was to take me to see architecture. She walked me through every building she had helped design across New York. Standing before each one, she said,
Architecture is like relationships. You give, but you can't possess. So, do you accept? Yes. Because the act of giving itself is a form of possession. This was the hardest building I ever made. I almost gave up halfway through. But I persevered because I realized completion is more important than perfection. Ella, you've had 17 relationships. You've completed them, but you haven't completed yourself.
I stood beneath the building, watching warm light glow across its gray facade, and
I will complete myself. You're already completing it.
Luca's plan was simple: teach me to make pizza. He brought me into his kitchen, pressed a ball of dough into my hands.
Knead it. Knead it hard. Don't stop. It won't rise if you don't knead it thoroughly.
I kneaded for an hour until my wrists ached. He looked over my finished dough and shook his head.
You're a little too soft. You're afraid of ruining the dough by using too much force. But the dough isn't that fragile. It needs your pressure.
Are you talking about dough or relationships?
Everyone's talking about it.
That night, I baked the first complete pizza I'd ever made. The crust edges were slightly charred, but it tasted right. Luca took a bite beside me and fell quiet for a long moment.
Ella, your pizza is just like you. Hard on the outside, soft on the inside.
Is this a compliment or an insult?
It's a diagnosis.
I laughed, harder than I had in years, until my face grew sore. Emily's plan was to have me write a letter to my future partner. She handed me a blank sheet of paper and said,
Write what you truly want to tell that person, not a farewell letter, but an invitation.
I sat on her sofa, pen in hand, thinking for a long time. Then I wrote,
Hello, I'm Ella. I've been in 17 relationships and dumped 17 people. I'm learning how not to dump the 18th. If you'd like, we can learn together.
Emily read the letter, then looked up at me.
Ella, when are you going to send it out? When I meet that person? You will meet him. Because you've already started inviting him.
My 12th boyfriend, Mike the fitness coach, thought he could fix me by taking me running, 5 a minter, in Central Park. He ran too fast, and I couldn't keep up. He stopped to wait for me.
You run as if you're fleeing something. Let's stop running and take a stroll.
We walked around the park for 40 minutes.
Ella, do you know why you always run so fast in every relationship?
Is it because I'm scared others will catch up to me?
You see being caught as confinement, but being caught might just mean someone's there to catch you. Not everyone who catches up to you wants to watch up you. Some only want to catch you.
That was the first time I understood the difference between being caught and being trapped. My first boyfriend, Nick. On our final therapy session, he took me to my old high school. We sat on the bleachers in the backfield, and the evening wind drifted over the chain link fence.
Ella, do you know why I was the first, and why I'll also be the last one still by your side?
Because I broke up with you first.
Because when you broke up with me, I was still in love with you. That love wasn't used up by the breakup. It turned into something else, for understanding, quiet ease of having known you for a long time.
He stared up at the stars hanging over the field.
You need someone who stays in your life even after you push them away. You need to understand Lee doesn't have to be the end.
Are you that person?
I am. Not because I'm special, but because you will allow. The moment you added me to the group chat, you let yourself a new kind of relationship. No longer lovers, yet never strangers. You made us your family.
My family.
Yes. All associated with chosen family. We walked into your life, left in our own ways, yet every single one of us chose to stay.
I sat on the bleachers, my tears drying in the night breeze. 17 people, 17 relationships, 17 threads that finally wove into a net, not one to trap me, a net to catch me. Matt, number 17, asked me out on the last day of our reverse therapy. He picked a cafe we both loved, and we sat by the window.
Ella, I'm the last one here to fix you today. What I want to say is simple. I forgive you.
What exactly are you forgiving me for?
for not staying. Stayed when we'd gotten married, and you would probably have left 3 years later. It would have hurt far more back then. You chose to leave, didn't last as long. Thank you for the short-lived hurt.
You don't have to thank me for leaving.
I'm not thanking you for leaving. I'm thanking you for choosing me, even if it only lasted 2 months. During those 2 months, I was treated with sincerity. That feeling of being taken seriously taught me how to treat others sincerely now.
He took a sip of his coffee.
I've been seeing a librarian. She reminds me of you, not because she looks like you, because she's also the kind of person who pays attention. When she listens to me, her eyes never droop.
That's good.
Yes, it's good. So Ella, you've healed all of us. But have you healed yourself?
I'm in the process of healing. I haven't recovered completely.
Then keep healing. We'll be right here with you.
I made the first personal therapy decision of my life. I signed up for an intimacy workshop, not as a therapist, but as a participant. On the first day I walked into that room, I sat on the outermost edge of the circle, my hands folded across my knees.
What's your reason for coming? I've had 17 relationships, and none last more than 2 years. I'm someone who can help others build connections, yet I'm too afraid to commit to one myself. I want to learn how to stay.
Someone in the room let out a soft laugh, not mocking, just the kind that says, I get you. The workshop lasted 8 weeks. Once a week, I sat on the floor, listening as others shared their fears, their avoidance, their hopes. When it was my turn to share one time, I said something I'd never told anyone before.
My mother has been divorced 13 times. When I was little, I told myself I would never become like her. Yet I ended up doing the same thing, choosing to leave instead of staying. Ella, you've recognized your pattern. That's already half the battle when it comes to change. What's the other half? The other half? It's giving yourself a chance to let someone stay instead of leaving first.
I met someone at the workshop. His name was Anthony, 40, an architect, not the Zhao Lin kind, a transportation planner.
I've been married twice, divorced twice. Now I'm trying to figure out why everyone I choose turns out just like my mother.
I smiled when I heard that. He glanced at me and smiled too. On the last day of the workshop, he walked over to me.
Your eyes curve when you laugh.
Every human's eyes curve when they smile.
When you smile, the curve of your eyes is deeper than others. I've been observing you for 8 weeks.
A late autumn wind blew, and he pulled his coat tighter.
Ella, are you free next week? Let's grab a coffee. It's not a date. Just 2 people still untangling relationship patterns.
All right. Let's swap notes.
That was the 18th time I'd met someone, but this time I wasn't thinking about when to leave. I was thinking, what if I don't? I had coffee with Anthony, then we had dinner, followed by a long walk. We sat on a bench by the riverbank, talking about our careers, our failures, and the healing we were each going through. He didn't ask me, why have you been in 17 relationships?
When you were learning to stay, what was the hardest part?
Not being afraid, I said. I was scared that over time, something would come to light.
Come to light about what?
That I'm not worthy of being liked for the long haul.
Ella, I've known you for 8 weeks. You spent 3 of those weeks helping other people work through their problems. Whether you deserve long-term affection, that's not for me to decide. That's up to you.
That was the harshest thing Anthony had ever said. I started bringing Anthony to Harper College's gatherings. The first time he showed up at one, everyone fell silent.
The 18th candidate? I'm his best friend. I'm in the learning not to run away phase.
Then you've come to the right place. We're all witnesses to her running away, and we're also witnesses to her learning to stay.
That night, Anthony sat at the same long table as my 17 exes. He listened to their stories about me. He didn't shy away. He just listened. nodding every now and then, smiling occasionally. After the gathering, we walked home.
Your exes all really care about you.
They're the ones I dumped. If anything, they should hate me.
They did, at first. But when then the anger wore off, they realized hating you meant hating their own choices. So they chose to understand instead.
Aren't you scared
Scared of what?
that I'll dump you someday too?
Ella, if you dump me, I'll join Harper College too. I'll become your 18th ex-alumnus.
Then I'll move on to my next relationship. And even then, I'll still say, Ella taught me what it feels like to be taken seriously.
Aren't you afraid of getting hurt?
I am. But fear isn't a reason not to try.
I stood beneath a street lamp and looked into his eyes. The lamplight fell across his shoulders, and autumn sycamore leaves rustled underfoot. I opened my mouth to speak.
I want to try. The kind where I don't run away.
I entered an official relationship with Anthony, yet this was nothing like the previous 17 times. I told myself, at least 1 year, no matter what happens, stick it out for at least a year. During the first week, I almost ran away. We disagreed over which restaurant to pick for dinner, such a trivial matter, yet my mind started tallying up all the signs that we might not be right for each other. My hands trembled, and I searched for an excuse to leave early. Then I thought of the Harper College group chat, of Nick's words. Completion matters more than perfection, and Matt's line about short-lived pain.
Anthony, we have a disagreement right now, but I want to stay and work through it.
Then stay. We'll take our time talking it through.
We talked for 40 minutes and finally settled on a restaurant that suited us both. It was the first time I chose to stay and work through a conflict. I shared what had happened in the Harper College group chat. I didn't back down today. I went back and forth with the restaurant for 40 minutes, and we finally found common ground. This is such a milestone for me. Everyone spammed clap emojis back to back in the group.
Ella, use 17 relationships to learn how to recognize what doesn't fit. Now you're starting to learn how to recognize what does fit. Progress.
Xiaolin posted a reaction pic. I saved that meme and made it my phone wallpaper. Anthony went with me to visit my mom. She lives in Florida and has been married 14 times. Her latest husband is a surf instructor, 12 years younger than her. She was settled on a sun lounger by the pool, slathering on sunscreen. Anthony accompanied me to see my mother, who resides in Florida. She is now on her 14th marriage, most recently to a surf instructor 12 years her junior. She was seated on a lounge chair beside the pool, applying sunscreen.
Which boyfriend are you, out of all the ones my daughters brought home? Mom.
I'm not number 18. She's my number 1.
She dumped 17 people and then picked you? You must be some special, Phil.
I'm nothing special. I simply don't run.
Don't run. That's good inside teams. None of it because they bad bad. I just didn't know how to let myself be treated well.
I took her hand in mine.
Mom, I know. It took me 17 tries to figure it out.
It was the first time I'd spoken to my mother about any of this. She squeezed my hand in return, not saying a word, but she didn't let go. Anthony put together a special Harper College panel just for my birthday. He secretly hit up every single one of my exes and asked each of them to film a short clip, not talking about me, just showing who they are now. At my birthday party, he played an hour-long compilation reel. The footage cut between each of them. Nick stood in front of his classroom and spoke straight to the camera.
I'm a head teacher now, and I teach 40 children.
Xiaolin stood in front of a finished building she'd designed.
I built this building the year you left.
Luca was kneading pizza dough behind the counter of his shop.
You taught me for the dough to rise.
Emily hung out backstage at a theater.
After you left, I directed a play about waiting and it ran for 80 performances.
The last shot was Matt. He was sitting out front of the library, clutching his book tight.
Ella, thanks for dumping me. I'm seeing a librarian now. We're getting engaged next month.
Once the video finished, the living room fell dead silent for ages. I sank back on the couch, tears streaming all down my face. Anthony handed me a box of tissues.
You dumped 17 people, yet every single one of them became better because of you. Ella, you're not a terrible ex. You're the best kind of ex. You left them with a future.
I wiped my eyes and stared at the final frame on the screen. A photo wall made up of 17 smiling faces. They were all my exes, and somehow, they felt like my family too. On the day Matt got engaged, Anthony asked me a question. Ella, have you ever thought about getting married? I stood by the window, gazing out at the street below. I thought for a long while. I have. Once, I saw marriage as being trapped. Now I understand. It means choosing to stay.
So will you choose to stay?
He asked softly, as if afraid he might scare a bird away. I turned to face him.
I choose to try.
He did not pull out a ring. He simply stepped forward and took my hand.
Then let's take it slow. There's no rush. We'll wait until you're ready.
That night, I posted a message in the Harper Academy group.
Someone is waiting for me, on the verge of proposing. I'm a little scared, but I don't want to ruin what we're waiting for you at.
It's okay to run. We'll be waiting for you at a end.
I decided to begin a campaign of reverse gratitude. Over the next 17 weeks, I would meet one ex-partner each week, one-on-one, and thank them in person for having been part of my life. No apologies, no attempts at reconciliation, only gratitude. I arranged to see Nick first. We sat on the bleachers of our old high school track field under bright sunshine.
Nick, thank you for being my first. You showed me what it feels like to be taken seriously. I may not know how to live by it, but from now on, I will measure it by your standard whenever I recognize it.
Then I have to thank you too. You taught me getting dumped doesn't have to be the end of the world. Now when my students go through heartbreak, I tell them, it's all right. You can become a better version of yourself. That idea of becoming a better person, I learned it from you.
We clinked our coffee cups together. For the first time, there was no lingering taste of regret between us. We sat on the bleachers bathed in sunlight, and for a moment, it felt just like the early days of our relationship. The second week, I met Emily. Her new play was in rehearsal, and she invited me to watch half the run-through from the audience seats. After the rehearsal wrapped, she said,
When you dumped me, you told me you deserve someone who understands you better. Someone who'd stay in the theater company for 8 hours straight. That person showed up a year ago. She's a director, too. I'm really happy. You look genuinely happy. Not the polite kind of happy where you just say your ex is finally doing well. Truly happy.
I mean it. Seeing you happy confirms that my choice back then was right. Not that leaving was right, but that you'd be better off without me was right.
By week 10, I'd met up with most of my exes. Every meetup was totally different. Some brought me to their new places, some showed me their new workspaces, and others just sat down and had a quiet meal together. My 13th ex, he's a painter, took me to his gallery opening. He pointed at the biggest painting hanging on the wall and said,
This painting is called After You Left.
The piece showed a person's back walking straight into a pool of light.
I painted it after you left. That silhouette is you.
It's my silhouette as I left.
It's the way you left. Decisive, yet elegant. That painting sold for $8,000.
You're the first person to make money off my breakup.
I burst out laughing.
The way you left had commercial value.
We clinked our wine glasses. That was the first time it hit me. Every single past relationship had turned into something like an artwork you could put on display. Week 17. I met up with Matt, my last ex. We met out front of the library, and he was holding a book face down, so I couldn't see the cover. We walked a ways before he spoke up.
Ella, you're the only person who made me feel it was still worth it even after I got dumped.
Because you found the librarian?
Because she's sincere, just like you. But she doesn't run away like you do. She taught me that being taken seriously is normal, not a luxury.
He handed the book over to me. I flipped it right side up. It was a book about intimate relationships, and there was writing on the inside front cover.
To my ex, Ella, thank you for teaching me to be sincere.
I took the book from him.
I'll be sincere too. I'm learning.
I know. Anthony posted a photo of you two. You smile differently now. Your shoulders used to be tense when you laughed. Now they're relaxed.
Because I finally feel like I've been caught.
Then this book is for you.
He just nodded.
Something to read on your body, to caught.
On the night the 17th week came to an end, I did something. I wrote a gift list of my 17 ex-partners. Nick taught me what it means to be taken seriously. Zhao taught me what completion means. Emily taught me what it means to wait. Matt taught me that something can be brief, yet sincere. 17 people, 17 gifts. I posted the list in the Harper Academy group. The chat stayed silent for a long time. Then, Zhao sent a message.
Ella, you listed 17 gifts, but you forgot someone.
Who? Yourself. You gave us gifts, but did you give one to yourself?
I stared at my phone and thought for a very long time. What I've given myself is all of you, 17 people woven into a net. That is my gift. Nick sent a voice note with just 3 words.
Received.
Anthony and I had been together for a full year. On that day, I did not run away. I woke up before him. As I watched the line of his profile while he slept, for the first time, long-term no longer felt like a terrifying word. I thought of the group announcement for Harper Academy President serves permanently. It suddenly occurred to me those words might mean more than just my position. They meant I had finally learned to understand what permanence truly is. Anthony stirred awake and opened his eyes to look at me.
What are you looking at?
Someone I've been with for a whole year and haven't once wanted to leave.
Do you want to leave today?
No.
He smiled and pulled me closer. Sunlight seeped through the slats of the blinds outside, casting a row of parallel streaks across the floor. For the first time, I understood that parallel did not have to mean paths that never meet. It could mean walking side by side for a very long time. I started something new in my counseling office, showing clients the gift list of my 17 ex-partners. I did not share it simply to talk about my own story, but to show them a possibility. Breakups can be constructive. After one young girl read the list, she asked me,
Dr. Ella, you dumped them, yet they all became better people? Yes, because of how I left. Honestly, directly, with no strings attached. I told them why, then I left. They never had to guess.
So what about number 18 now? Will you leave him too?
I don't plan on leaving anymore. I plan on staying.
She nodded. I folded the list and put it away in my desk drawer. What had once been a story of self-sabotage had turned into a resource, a cautionary example transformed into a guidebook. Anthony proposed to me properly, a year and a half into our relationship. There was no ring, he said he'd ask first, and leave it up to me, whether we got one later. He stood by the windowsill of my apartment, gilded by the dusk glow.
Ella, here's what I want to say or propose. I can't promise I'll never let you down, but I promise I'll stay after the disappointments. Will you?
I will.
Then, do you want a ring?
I do. But I want to learn how to get used to wearing my ring first. Give me 2 weeks to adjust.
All right. I'll put it on you in 2 weeks.